Welcome to Fright Club Live at Gateway Film Center. Tonight, a screening of Where the Devil Roams and a podcast discussion of the most horrific families in film. Now, here are your hosts, George Wolf, and filling in tonight for Hope Madden, Brandon Thomas.
That's right. That's right. Fright Club just got 75% less attractive, and I apologize for that in advance, but we're going to try to make up for it with some knowledge. That'll be tough, too. Yeah, welcome, Brandon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, George.
Hope is attending the high school graduation of our niece, Vivian, in Burlington, Vermont. So she's deep into the celebration now. We're going to try to hold up our end of the bargain.
Try as we might.
So welcome. It's a look at horrific families, and we've got a great one from, you may know these filmmakers, from John Adams and Toby Poser. They do some great stuff, some great indie horror stuff, and we got a recorded message from them as well. They agreed to play along as we get into it. And we're also going to show, it has nothing to do with horrific families, except the Fright Club family, but we're going to show our latest short film, Fansplaining. So that's just for fun. So, since we kind of make the rules, we're going to play that here in a little bit. But last time we talked about punk rock horror movies. That was fun. We had Jen Wexler chime in, and another filmmaker who recorded a message about it, so we thank her. She's a friend, and we showed The Ranger, and I think everybody liked The Ranger. Did you not?
Yeah, what a fun movie, right, guys? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So thanks to Jen, and thanks for everybody, because her short bits and pieces, and everybody had some great comments, too, after the movie. I really appreciate that, and we hope to get more of those tonight after the movie, because we won't talk much about it beforehand, and then we like to get your comments on the way down. So that's coming up as we speak. I cannot freaking believe it's the middle of June already.
Time is flying, George.
I'm telling you, time is a construct, and we're putting together, as we speak, our list of the best horror so far this year. What's going to be number one? Duh. I'd say that's a good bit. And by the way, if you didn't know, Gateway is playing it in 70 millimeter. We saw it last night. Just freaking gorgeous. I mean, don't miss the chance to catch it, because that was the second time. As soon as we saw it the first time, we're like, we got to see it again. And then when we heard that they were showing it in 70 millimeter, man, right. Don't miss it.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a movie that, thematically and just the intrigue of it, you want to catch all that you can, and you want to see it in the best format possible.
Yeah.
And, 70 millimeter is the way to go, because that's actually what it was shot in, too.
Yeah, and we're so lucky here to have them shown it. So take advantage if you can. All right, we're talking about horrific families, and the idea is that the family works together as a unit to kill people. The family that kills together. There you go, fill in the blank. So that's the idea, and we've got a few honorable mentions. I know, Brandon, you have a couple.
So you've got 2019's Ready or Not,
yep.
Which the whole thing is set up about a family bringing in a new daughter-in-law, potential daughter-in-law, and then things go terribly, terribly wrong for the daughter-in-law and the rest of the family as it goes on, which is a fantastic movie from 2019.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and they are working on part 2, I believe.
They are filming right now. Yeah. So. It's a great title, Ready or Not, Here We Come. So not Ready or Not 2, Ready or Not, Here We Come.
Yeah.
Great title.
Yeah, looking forward to that, because you're right. That one was a lot of fun. You're next, our buddy, Fright Club buddy Joe Swanberg and Troop in there from 2011. That is fun. Also one from 79 we've talked about a lot, The Brood.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Cronenberg and Messed Up Families.
That's a good one. Spider Baby. That one that was not jumped into my head when we talked about this.
Me either. I think that's a Hope edition.
Yeah, that's a Hope edition. That's from 1967. Also a Frightmare from 1974.
Yes, that's a great one. And then, of course, we've got the trifecta of House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and Three from Hell from Rob Zombie, which is, maybe the most messed up redneck white trash family ever put to film.
Yeah, pretty bad. And one I was also not aware of, The Seeding, from just a couple of years ago, from 2023.
Yeah, and then one that popped into my head as I was coming in tonight is Jordan Peele's Us, which is a little different from the rest of these in that it's
that.
We've got a good version of the family and the bad version of the family, which the bad version is the more murderous of the pair.
Yeah. That's such a great movie, too.
Oh, love it.
Hey, welcome in. Come on in. So those are some good honorable mentions, and we have some good top 5, a good top 5. A couple of a lot of them we've talked about before. but not all, I don't think. So we'll start at number 5. This is from 1977. Love that 70s horror. On the way to California, a family has the misfortune to have their car break down in an area closed to the public and inhabited by violent savages ready to attack. It's The Hills Have Eyes.
Mister, don't take your family back in that area. The silver has been gone for 40 years now. Besides, there's nothing back in there but animals.
We're lost. The old creep told you not to get off the road.
What began as a vacation ended as a nightmare.
Hell to pay now.
The Hills Have Eyes. The lucky ones died first.
Woo, yeah. So The Hills Have Eyes. This was Wes Craven's follow-up to The Last House on the Left, which had come out earlier in the 1970s. And what a just a step up in, pretty much every level of filmmaking. I'm not a huge fan of Last House on the Left. It's a pretty polarizing film, but just everything about The Hills Has Eyes is just so much better. I mean, you've got the great mirror of the radioactive mutant family paired with the family that's just trying to go cross country to get to California, and how through these series of events that happen to them, how their own humanity is tested and the brutality that comes out of them themselves.
Yeah, it's mean. And the thing I always remember about this movie, when I was a kid, I used to love the Sunday paper. I had this folder that I would fill with just clippings of movie ads. I would just go through and cut them all out. And the big movies, of course, sometimes got full-page ads, but I just loved it. And then the ad for this came out, and it's Michael Berryman on looking at you all menacing, and man, does he look so freaky. You're like, I couldn't see it. I was 13 years old or something in 77. So I just thought, man, that's got to be terrifying just off that picture on the poster. And it's just an iconic image. And when I did finally see it, yeah, it lives up to it, because it's just you never feel safe with what the movie is going to do and who it's going to do it to.
It's interesting because, again, sort of pairing it with The Last House on the Left, this is a movie that still pushes envelopes. And like George said, you're not quite sure where it's going to go, but it does it in a completely different way. The things that you see, you really get invested in this family, and you're really just horrified to see these things that happen to them, and you're not quite sure where things are going to go. Oh, clearly this character is going to survive. No, he or she does not survive. No one's safe. And then when you come to a part where an infant is being kidnapped, you're like, anything's possible here. Anything's possible.
Right. Exactly. Especially for anyone who maybe had seen Last House on the Left, he's liable to do anything. In this film. One thing I found fascinating, I just found out after this film, actress Susan Lanier, who played Brenda, she was originally hired to play Chrissy on Three's Company before Suzanne Summers. And they lasted a few weeks during pre-production, and then everybody decided she wasn't right for the role, and they booted her and got Suzanne Summers in there.
Wow, how serendipitous there.
I know. I had no idea. And then, of course, the remake from 2006 I thought was okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one that I think I like it a lot more than you do, George. But it's one of those that when people talk about remakes from the 2000 era, always tends to rise to the top, because during that time we were getting some pretty bad ones. The Halloween remake and the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. So that one really stood above the rest as far as quality and using that basic premise to do something a little bit different.
Yeah, agreed. I thought it was fine. So that is number 5 in Horrific Families, 1977's The Hills Have Eyes. Moving up to 2001, a mysterious man arrives at the offices of an FBI agent and recounts his childhood, how his religious fanatic father received visions telling him to destroy people who were in fact demons. It's frailty.
They were raised to obey their father,
Go do some homework.
to love him, to trust him,
Night, boys. Sleep tight.
Don't let those bed bugs bite.
until
Wake up. I've got something to tell you.
What's wrong?
There are demons among us. I can see the demons, while other people can't.
I'm scared, Dad.
God will be sending a list of the first 7 demons,
These are people's names.
and they'll look like people, but they're not.
You're crazy!
Only demons should fear me. You're not a demon, are you?
Love that. That is a very unsettling film. And Bill Paxton, of course, not only stars, but he directed it. And it's just a shame he never, he passed away much too soon. Never saw him direct anything else. And this is such a solid effort.
Oh, it's a fantastic movie, and I think so much of what, to continue George's point about Bill Paxton, I think so much of the movie's success it hinges on Paxton's casting as the father, because he's such a naturally likable actor. Even when you see him in a film play, say like a Class A asshole like Hudson in Aliens, you're still like, yeah, he's a jerk, but I still kind of like him, you know?
Yeah.
And so to see him, you're really torn through so much of the movie, like, is he for real? Is what he's saying real? Because, you're just so drawn to him as an actor and a character.
Which is obviously what feeds into the feeling that you're with the children, because obviously they're drawn to their father, and they're going to believe what he says as it unfolds. And yeah, it's fascinating. And of course, it throws you that curveball at the end, which is great. And originally, I guess, Bill Paxton was going to have the demon's crimes shown when Dad first touched them, but it was his buddy James Cameron's suggestion to change it so the information is a surprise that comes at the end. And it really works, because I think it's one that catches you. The first time you see it, it catches you by surprise.
Right. And I know that this was a movie that came out when I was in college, and I can remember it sort of gained a slow following as things went along, but it was always one of those movies when you would mention it, once someone saw it, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was such a great surprise. We loved that movie. And I'm glad that Paxton did live at least long enough to get his due on that. But it really is a shame that he wasn't with us much longer to do more films like this.
Yeah, I think you're right. Every now and then I'll just see something pop up on social media where somebody has just discovered it and says, man, I don't know why more people don't talk about this film, because it just has kind of slipped through some cracks in almost 25 years now. But it's one that when people discover, they really appreciate it, and well, they should. And it features, of course, one of those dolly zoom shots like from Jaws and then Hitchcock, which is always cool to see. But it's such a cool mystery, and it unfolds at a nice pace, and it's got some great performances and direction too, and it's just tense and scary.
Yeah, and I like the curveballs that it continues to throw you too with the casting. I mean, having Matthew McConaughey in there, who's just again another naturally likable actor with a bit of a dark edge, but then Powers Booth, who made a career of playing a heavy through all these films, and where you get to at the end with him is part of that surprise that works out so well.
Yeah, for sure. And that is Frailty number 4 from 2001. In our top 5 of horrific families. Okay, moving up to number 3. This is one that we're going to show tonight. So, not going to talk a whole lot about it, but it traces a family of murderous sideshow performers as it travels around the world on a dying carnival circuit. It's Where the Devil Roams, and we are glad to have Toby Poser and John Adams checking in virtually.
Hi.
What's happening? We're John and Toby from the Adams family. We're missing Lulu and Zelda, but hey.
Yeah, and we loved making this film. We are a family, and Zelda, our daughter, our youngest daughter, we got 2 of them, and you'll see both of them on screen. She was having a lot of nightmares about clowns. She's always kind of been freaked out by clowns. And she said, I got this great idea. Why don't we make a movie about a family that gets killed by clowns? And then we were like, well, what if we're the clowns? And then we realized we probably couldn't do that makeup every day. So it turned into a family of murderous carnival performers.
Yeah, I think something that we love doing as a family is we like basically making horror movies that document where we are in our family, in our life. So this is a movie right before Zelda took off to college. And so and Lulu was already gone out of the house. So it's a movie about a family splitting up. And we ask ourselves, how can we make a metaphor about a family splitting up? And the best way to do that in horror is to take an axe to them. And so that's what this movie is about. It's a metaphor of us losing our kids, and also the kind of unconditional love that we all have for each other, and the desire to stay together no matter what happens, and also no matter what kind of people we are.
I think our life kind of feels like a carnival a lot of times. We definitely are up for a good ride. And we have a band. And so there's a lot of music in this film, and we wanted to incorporate the music we're making with our band Hellbender into the film of, musical murderous performers.
So enjoy watching a family fall to pieces, and I don't know whether they get
them back together.
Yeah, whether they get put back together or not, I don't know. Let's find out what happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, see, they're okay. I love that. How are we going to do the metaphor? We take an axe to them. That's our people.
You know, they know what to say. They know what to say, that's for sure.
How many people have seen this already? Couple? Okay. All right, great. Well, we want to get your thoughts afterwards, and if you've seen this one or any of their films, they do such a great job with limited budget.
Oh, absolutely.
But what they can do with it, and a family affair themselves, as you heard, is really astounding. So it's great that we were able to get this. It's great that they played along, and we want to talk to you about it when we're done. So, all right, that is number 3, Where the Devil Roams. We'll move on up to number 2. This is from 2010. When the patriarch of the family passes away, the teenage children must take responsibility for the family chores, the preparation of the rituals, the hunting, and putting the all-important meat on the table. And these newfound responsibilities are even more daunting when you live in the city and happen to be a family of cannibals. This is We Are What We Are. Yeah, I love that so much. Obviously, we're talking about the original. It did have an English language remake a few years later, which is a solid film, but it's not as effective, I think, as this one.
No. I mean, this one really gets into the culture of Mexico, which is where the film originates from.
Yep.
So you have so much tied in with the actual culture there in Mexico, where the movie's coming out of and where the family lives. And I think what's great about this is the different type of family dynamic that it's talking about. This is the family losing their patriarch and sort of trying to figure out what to do. And this can happen to any family, of any age. These kids just happen to be cannibals. Mm-hmm. So the little twist there.
So, yeah, and someone's, as the synopsis said, someone's got to put meat on the table. Somebody's got to take over. And this is from writer-director Jorge Michael Grau. And this is a movie that actually a friend of ours, one of the women that used to write with us at the other paper, just thinks this is the most terrifying movie she has ever seen in her entire life. Just hit something, just primal. Just didn't want to hear about it, don't want to talk about it. So scares the crap out of her.
George, are you saying it left a bad taste in her mouth?
Oh, I gave you that one.
Sorry.
But it's effective too as a metaphor, as a statement on a population feeling looked as disposable population in this society. You can look at it that way as well. But I love it too as a power. The power in the family, which child steps up to take responsibility is very interesting.
Absolutely.
Because the first one that they look to is not maybe up to the challenge.
Right, yeah, that push and pull,
Yeah.
It creates this extra level of drama, which, all good, really good. Well, that kind of horror that rises above just that visceral thrill. You get a little bit, I'm gonna keep rolling with the metaphors here, a little bit more meat on the bone, to the film. And sort of like talking about Sinners, like you said there, a film that obviously has a lot more going on. We Are What We Are is another one of those.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, definitely has social commentary, as so much, welcome, as so much of the best horror does, and just so effective and chilling, just chilling. From 2010, the Spanish language original, We Are What We Are at number 2. All right, I think we're on schedule. As we move up to number 1, and this is, wow, you knew, especially when Hope is making these lists. 5 friends head out to rural Texas to visit the grave of a grandfather. On the way, they stumble across what appears to be a deserted house, only to discover something sinister within, something armed with a chainsaw. You know what it is.
This is the movie that is just as real, just as close, just as terrifying as being there. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
Wow, yeah. So, arguably the granddaddy of the slasher film, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is just one of those that checks so many boxes. It's visceral. It's got that great family dynamic. And what's so great about the family themselves is each one is very distinct and different. You've got Grandpa, of course, Leatherface. The father. You've got the hitchhiker. Each one of them is so different, but yet memorable. So when you walk away from this film, you're like, oh my gosh, this was this ragtag, menacing family. And it's something that the sequels, always tried to replicate, but never were able to even closely match.
Not even
as
close.
They went along.
Not even close. This is always one of those that I try. I mean, I was lucky enough to see a lot of the 70s classics when they first came out in the theater. This one I was a little too young for. And I try to remember or try to imagine the reaction of those original audiences. I bet they just freaked out because this is so primal and so in your face. As we've talked about many times, it's in the broad daylight. You're just kind of conditioned to, can't be too bad if you're in the broad daylight. But it's just so in your face with it. And again, sort of like we talked about with Hills Have Eyes, you're off balance. You don't know what they're going to do.
Well, too, and just in tonally, it's one of those movies that, and so many critics have talked about this, that after it's over, you feel like you've watched a much more violent movie than you have. I mean, there's virtually no blood. Most of what happens is implied, but it hurts. It hurts you deep, and you feel it.
The hook. Man, I felt that.
Ooh, yeah. So I mean, it's really interesting when you compare it to even the other four films that we've talked about. That more so many of those are a little bit more grotesque and gory, where this one lacks so much of that.
Yeah, very much so. Power of suggestion. Because it just feels so grimy, and that you've spent time in this house of horrors. And even though you don't see a lot of spilled blood, once you're out of there with her and escaping it, you feel like, Jesus, what did I just watch?
Oh, and absolutely. I mean, and sort of like Michael Berryman with The Hills Have Eyes. I mean, you've got this great performance from Gunnar Hansen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's completely physical. There's no dialogue from it. And, I mean, he really didn't do a whole lot after that. I mean, he showed up in movies here and there, but, I mean, what a a statement that he was able to make with the physicality of that performance.
Amen. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974, number one on our most horrific families. All right, so we're right on time as we get ready to see Where the Devil Roams. And looking forward to your thoughts afterwards. Oh, yeah, that's right. First, we're going to show fansplaining. It's a sports metaphor, fansplaining, that we filmed, a year or so ago with a bunch of Fright Club family members, so that's why we thought it would stick. So have fun with that, and then we'll go into Where the Devil Roams and talk to you after. So thank you so much, and enjoy. Yeah, Where the Devil Roams. How about that? That's impressive. That's really impressive. There's so much to like there. I mean, what a family affair. I mean, you look at the credits. They do just about everything between John Adams and Zelda Adams and Toby Poser. They're great.
Right, yeah, and I love that, it's not only behind the screen, but they always translate all of that onto the screen as well. All of their films deal with family in some regard or another, and this one, I think, is a culmination of all of that, especially in what they said in their intro earlier. Both girls are now out of the house, mirroring their real life. What is that going to look like now for the family going forward? But, everything that went up on screen is fantastic in this film. I really love this one.
I love the look of it. The vintage look, their eye for composition and framing, and just putting something on the screen that's striking to look at, no matter if there's dialogue or not. And of course, they're a family, so their lived-in authenticity is just obviously genuine, and that comes across. And it's just fascinating. It's a really great family effort, and the music too. I love the music and how the music is used. Yeah, every element.
They're kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And sort of adding on to what you said, George, I think there's a great attention to detail, in this film. There's things that pay off, like the mother's little comment about her brother and how he was beaten to death by her mother for a mistake she made in the shoes. And how the shoes, that little payoff on the shoes. It's nothing that really adds to the plot, but it's such a great little character moment, in a film like this that otherwise may not have been noticed. So I love that. And then also the look of the film as the parents begin to rot and degrade, and the look of the film and the film itself begins to rot
effects
and degrade, and then that last moment, how everything snaps back into focus and is so much crisp and clear again, and then you get that last shot, which is, a humdinger, if you will.
Yeah. I love the practical effects. Very, very well done, which will always, I'll always go err on the side of practical effects.
Oh, absolutely.
And, a lot of it, too, the look of it, what it reminded me of? It reminded me of some of the shots reminded me of the creepy, cursed video in The Ring.
Yeah.
It just had that creepy-ass look about it.
Well, everything vintage now looks really creepy.
Yeah. Love it. Anybody thoughts?
Yeah, I knew that you were going to love the music, especially I'm now going to have to look up the band Hellbender. But yeah, the cinematography is just striking for a movie that was obviously low budget. I give them props. The family did a great job. They got every penny worth up on that screen.
Oh, no doubt. And Hellbender is the name of one of their other films. Was that their first film?
I believe it's their second film.
Deeper You Dig
was
one.
Hellbender was the one right before this one.
The second film?
No, I just like how this is almost two separate movies in that it starts off with almost this like movie about home invasion. They're going around killing these, for the most part, kind of deservingly bad people, crooked judges, that banker. And then it flips to that. She steals the heart, and then it becomes this paranormal, the decay and the rot, like their decay and rot finally catches up with them. It's a neat, two different themes going on at the same time.
You call it a heart, I call it a pincushion.
Well, George, it's also great how they use the backdrop of the Great Depression. In this too, these transient people who are also part of a carnival, but are dipping out whenever they need to and catching back up with the carnival when they are doing their extracurricular activities.
It's interesting too to remember what they said in the intro about it being born out of nightmares about clowns. And the clowns do come in. In fact, they're there at the end. But it's interesting what inspiration comes out. You start with something about clowns, and it just goes off into a different direction. You get that, which is awesome.
Well, and it's such a great, too, the look of the clowns. It's such a Wish.com version of the clown.
Yeah, very, very much so. Very traveling circus type early clowns. And they're creepy. They are creepy. And you manage to work in some creepy dolls. You air up clowns with creepy dolls. It's really impressive. I mean, they're an impressive family of artists in all manner. They're talking about the music, and then they work in the filmmaking, and they do the editing, and they do the acting, and everything. Oh, and by the way, as Jeff comes down here, thank you. Jeff brought this really cool print from Columbus Arts Festival, which I love, which has some classic. On the way out, be sure to check it out. Has some classic villains and characters from horror movies. Thank you for that very, very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, I was just kind of impressed at the one, like the montage with the one song towards the end. It gave me a whole lot of like flashbacks to the 90s. Like this is like a Rob Zombie or a Marilyn Manson video between the music and the visuals. Oh, and like Nine Inch Nails kind of vibes.
Yeah, I get it. Some of it did remind me of a music video, a really cool vintage look music video.
Yeah, they really do. And I mean, I think, adding on again, George, to what you said, they do so much with so little. I mean, micro budget films, and I don't know exactly what the budget for this movie was, but it couldn't have been, a terrible lot. But they squeeze every little bit of production value.
They really
on
do.
That. And I think something to really point out too is the caliber of actors that they've got in this film too. Not only the three leads, but just those peripheral actors. And if you've watched enough low budget films, a lot of times the acting can be the weak point. And I don't know if there were very many weak, points in this film as far as acting goes.
Yeah, I agree. It's that they got every penny, and now the experiences that we've had in low budget filmmaking, I'm even more impressed with some of the things they got in production values, and the shots, and just really an impressive piece of work there. Where the Devil Roams, and we thank so much to John Adams and Toby Poser who came on and joined us there virtually with the message, and of course Zelda, who's great in this. And I love her character too, because that's the type of performance. She doesn't say much, obviously, but you can always she's looking. she's learning, she's plotting, and then has a song, and that's a fascinating character. And then the final shot that you talked about. Yeah, it's a really cool movie, and I'm always going to look forward to what they're going to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be there day one.
Yeah, exactly. Great stuff. Thank you so much. Where the Devil Roams this time. This was fun. Thank you again to John Adams and Toby Poser for joining in. Next month, we don't know yet what's going on. We don't know yet what we're going to show. It's kind of, we're piecing that together as we go now. But I know we got some things, some wish lists that we're getting with Chris about. So we'll let you know. We'll have this edited and up here in a couple of days on all the usual socials, madwolf.com and the Fright Club Podcast Facebook group, and Mad Wolf Columbus on all the socials. So we'll get together then. Brandon Thomas filling in for Hope. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, George.
Appreciate that.
It's
Appreciate
a pleasure.
it. Yeah,
It's a pleasure.
great
Thank
job. And we'll see you again next time. And until then, he is Brandon Thomas, and I'm George Wolf, and this is the Fright Club Podcast.
This is John and Toby from the Addams Family.
Stay frightful, my friends.